Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be talking about Enchantress and more accurately Kabam's approach to the new champions and defenders as well, I guess. Because whilst Enchantress is advertised as 5 out of 5 defender, I think most of the people will agree that she's nowhere near as hard as Serpent in kind of like vague vanilla scenario. There are no nodes. For instance, if you're fighting an arena fight or let's say BG meta where there is nothing really inhabiting you, Serpent and Bullseye and Photon and Onslaught, they're going to be way harder defenders. The truth is, once you understand the base mechanics of Enchantress, she's not that bad to fight against, to be honest. And the base mechanics are effectively very simple. You need to remove her spells before she throws an additional special attack. In order to do that, only thing you need to remember is that orange is for intercept, purple is for knockdown, green is for punch heavy. Simple enough. That I will make a separate video about and demonstrate. That's the main reason why I rank my 5-star Enchantress in order to, show how to fight against her. And in reality, that's probably about as much as I will learn from Enchantress, because offensively, even in long fights, kind of shit. She's, I'm all for the people who enjoy the swipies and learning of the spells, and I would too, even though I don't enjoy it, if she was a good champion offensively. She's not. In long form content, for instance, if you're looking for a Mystic, Wong does a much better job. I believe Nick136 made a comparison video there. And yeah, she does have some utility, but virtually everything you would use her for, there's going to be a better option for. And in short fights, obviously, she's quite underwhelming in damage based on what I have seen. Since she's a good defender, though, I will make a video on how to fight against Enchantress. And again, the gist of it is this: intercept, knockdown, punch heavy, get rid of her spells before she gets to throw another special, and ideally bait level ones. About it. That said, now we're discussing a simple scenario where you have plenty of time and space to do that. The problem with Enchantress is when you add nodes to her. Like, a lot of champions get, harder to deal with when there are extra nodes. For instance, a good example is Serpent in the previous BG meta was borderline unstoppable. There are like 2 counters to him. And in general, that's kind of the point of the nodes, to make the fights harder and to have less champions who are capable of dealing with them. For instance, if you put on a champion on Hazard chip lane, there will be significantly less champions that can do that fight. Problem that I'm getting to is there is a plethora of nodes that make Enchantress borderline unfair to play against. Because if you do not clear the spells, or if you get slightly unlucky, you're just going to die in Alliance War, or you're going to die in Battlegrounds, or you're going to die in any other random place you meet her. And any other random place, I'm not even that fussed if it's story content or something else. But the problem will probably be the Alliance War specifically, and possibly also later on in Battlegrounds. Because the entire point of fighting effectively against Enchantress is to do what is required of you to do before she gets to another special attack. So if she gets 3 spells at the start of it, and you need to land in, and if you get unlucky and you need to land in an intercept, you need to knock her down, and you need to punish the heavy attack. Those are very precise things that you have to do before you can safely push her past the bar of power. Now keep in mind that she's a Mystic champion that will feed off Mystic Dispersion as well, if God forbid you happen to trigger Dexterity. And then obviously we have nodes like Power Focus 1, Power Focus 2, Aspect of Evolution, Power Efficiency, and most importantly here, Heavy Hitter Unstoppable, which makes it very hard to punish the heavy attack, or nigh impossible without getting hit, barring the fact that you have access to slow. And in generic situation, as few counters as we would have to that on these Alliance War nodes, that would still kind of be manageable. like, if you see Enchantress on heavy hitter unstoppable heavy, fine. Bring in a slow champion, bring in a champion that, can deal with unstoppable, and you should be fine. However, here is the big problem with Kabam, and I can understand why they do it. What I will say, though, is that they need to put in a lot more thought when they do this. They need to plan this a lot more carefully, and that is exactly where the critique here is. And not even in the Enchantress's design itself, which I have critiqued heavily in the past. More so that Kabam rushes to make these new champions, and especially defenders, tactic defenders. That adds extra layer of it, because typically for tactic defenders, you kind of have to use tactic attackers to counter them. That largely is the case also now. As we can see, Enchantress being a Provocateur champion. So, Provocateur will give her regen and give her miss, more of the miss, and all that other stuff is going to happen. Her ability and massive power gain in general, that's going to be a massive problem for Enchantress, because again, we are hyper focused with this champion, specifically when and how she can throw special attacks. If you give her massive power gain, you're going to be cooked. So, and now we're going to look on the right side. What happens when you give her unstoppable on heavies and you are required to punish a heavy attack? How many champions in offensive tactic has slow or ability to bypass unstoppable? Let's go. Shuri, no. Shocker, no. Sentinel, no. Hulkbuster, no. Regular, no. So from the tech champions, I believe the answer is 0. None of those champions deal with unstoppable. Okay, so let's look at the science class. Again, keep in mind, if that's Enchantress placed on, let's say, the heavy unstoppable node. We have Silk, which I can guarantee you is going to get almost always banned, especially given the fact that we have increased number of bans now in Alliance War. And then besides that, we have Anti-Venom and Sandman, both of whom will require quite a lot of hits to actually get that working, which, will inevitably lead to having to eat a lot of heavy attacks and damage meanwhile. And since the unstoppable is going to be passive, Captain America is not going to work. That's about it. So we have 3 champions, all of whom easily can get banned for the war, not to mention the fact that 2 of them aren't even great options for that fight or for that matchup. And this is where the problems are coming. This is something Kabam clearly should have accounted for. Not necessarily saying designing Enchantress, because nobody can predict all of the interactions. But if Kabam select the champion to be the saga or tactic defender, and we are effectively forced to use tactic attackers, they need to give us counters for that. And that's what this thread is about. And this thread was opened August 26th, so that was more than 2 days ago. And there's a fairly healthy, active discussion from several players, from Big Blue Ox, for instance. Very cool guy. Always posts quite conservative. There is 0 chance of using Silk and Shuri in the new season. They will be 100% banned in this season and on blacklist next season, so I'd exclude them from any discussion on this tactic. Agree. I think the scariest combo of Enchantress and Unstoppable Heavy. Silk is the only tactic option with easy access to slow when duped. After her, and she's likely banned everywhere that matters, other than unstoppable counters, all are problematic. Anti-Venom, you're going to need 30 hits to get that done. Sandman needs to get special 2. Spidey 99 needs special 3. So, each of these options are highly likely to eat casting damage before they can build the required utility needed to play the minigame. And honestly, in tier 2 and above, Spidey is also a potential ban target. The only non-tactic option that seems possible and possibly saves Quicksilver, but I don't think it will be because of the 13 hit combos triggering the power gain constantly. Means testing to be sure either way. When this attacker list looked at more seriously if Enchantress shouldn't be a tactic defender if these are the only attackers. I couldn't agree more. And again, that's putting aside my thoughts on Enchantress as a champion, because I think she's, exactly what this game doesn't need and represents completely the wrong way of thinking. I think vast majority of the players want champions that are relatively easy to use, rather than, or even if they're not easy to use, that they do not feel like you have to read a Bible and remember a Bible to learn how to use them. But here we are. What do you do? The answer here should be obvious. Either the Enchantress should not be the tactic defender, or we need a revision of tactic offensive champions, which will in return obviously create another backlash of the people who ranked up Enchantress specifically because she is a tactic defender, or of people who already did their rank ups, based on knowing what the tactic attackers are and will have to do new rank ups now. So it's going to get a messy situation. It will. And all of this, yet again, is just lack of hindsight from Kabam, lack of critical thinking, and they are just carelessly picking the new champions and always adding them to the tactics without considering the implications. Similar things have happened to last several tactics now when Kabam had to alter the list, like the last two tactics back. Kabam, went through several alterations of the war tactics in general, plus changes of the champions that actually were, marked with the hashtags. So yeah, war season is about to start very, very soon. And we only have 3 off-season wars left. And this still has not been addressed. So I urge Kabam to take this seriously, because it again will cause yet another outcry. It will cause people to get frustrated because there will be effectively no counters, and we're going to have to resort to some kamikaze tactics, effectively trying to just nuke through a fight with indestructible 3 boosts and whatnot. And it's just going to feel shit. And it's a very bad user experience. So the purpose of this video was, number one, for people to be aware of problematic placements of Enchantress, because these will be quite rough, especially the unstoppable heavy one, where she goes debuff immune as well. Whatever. And yeah, number two is to hopefully give an extra nudge for Kabam to address it, because this thread quite active, been live, but there's no Kabam reply on this. Let me know what you guys think about Enchantress as a defender and being a tactic defender, and Kabam's trend of having all the new champions immediately being thrown into these tactics and competitive scenarios without actually thinking through the ramifications and the node interactions. I'll catch you guys very, very soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about